What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 309 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about another Thor book. This is Loki, Blood Brothers. This collects the 4-issue Loki miniseries from like 2004, I think, by Robert Rohde and Esad Ribic. It also collects one of the issues of J. Michael Straczynski's Thor run from pretty early in his run, and then it collects a couple of issues of the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby Thor stuff from the 1960s. And this is my favorite Thor story ever. The story here is that Loki has taken over Asgard, and then he basically has to decide, what am I going to do next? And then he's got all these people that he's trying to rub it in their faces that he won, and then we're getting to see a little bit of how he got to this point, why he's the villain of the piece, why everyone hates Loki. This is a really fantastic story, and it brings me back to For Asgard, which was also written by Robert Rohde, which was one of the worst Thor stories that I've ever read. And I don't want to turn this into an entire video where I'm just kicking that story while it's down, but I can't help but draw some comparisons between this and that, and I try to figure out why For Asgard was so bad and why this is such a masterpiece. I think one of the reasons is that For Asgard, Rohde tries to focus on multiple characters. You've got Thor doing his own thing, you've got Lady Sif and Tyr, they have their own subplot that's ongoing throughout the story. You have Odin, he has his own subplot. You've got new characters who also kind of have their own thing going on. There are a lot of characters in that story, all vying for screen time, and as a result, none of them really get to do a whole lot. Meanwhile, in fewer issues, this story only focuses on Loki. You have other characters who show up, but Baldur does not have his own subplot. He's only here to service the Loki storyline, and I think that that is where Robert Rohde's strengths lie. Whenever he is focusing on one character and having them go through whatever kind of arc they are going through, I think it works a lot better than when he's trying to give multiple characters things to do in roughly the same amount of issues. Also, I really like that he's focusing on the villain. This is something that I really like just about all the time. Anytime you give a villain their own story, almost all the time, I am going to be interested in it. First of all, Magneto, he has had several stories over the years. Lex Luthor, he's had a few ongoing stories and limited stories. I am almost always going to be interested in seeing the villain and seeing things from their perspective and seeing how they got from point A to point B. And this story kind of does that. This has a really fascinating reason for why Loki turned out the way he did, and it lies in how Odin raised him. This is something that I had never really given much thought to. I've always kind of seen Loki as just a bad seed in a lot of other stories, but here it's kind of playing it like it's not really his fault, and that it's everyone else's fault for treating him like garbage. And yeah, he could have reacted differently, but it's really difficult to react positively when everyone in the kingdom hates you for no fault of your own. I really like the way Loki is portrayed here. Even in victory, he still can't win, and I just really feel sorry for him here in a way that I've never felt sorry for him in any other story. I really like the way Esad Ribic draws this story. I think that his art here is actually better than his art in Jason Aaron's God Butcher storyline, and it was really good there, but I think that he has more attention to detail here. I think because this is a limited series, he could put more time and effort into each page. Each page feels like a masterpiece here, whereas in the God Butcher storyline, because it was an ongoing story, I get the feeling that maybe he was trying to get them out a little quicker, and those pages are still really good there, but you look at this and then you look at that, and you can definitely tell that he was putting more into this, I feel like. And that's not a diss against the God Butcher storyline, because his art is still really good there, but it's like saying he was at 90% at the God Butcher storyline and he's at 100% here. This is just a little bit better than that, but still, both are really good. I really like this story a lot. If you are a Thor fan and you haven't read this, you absolutely need to read this story. If you're not a Thor fan, but maybe you've watched the movies and you're like, yeah, those movies are okay, you should probably read this. I think this is a really good entry point into the world of Thor. This was one of the first Thor stories I ever read. I don't remember what made me seek this out, but I'm really glad that I did. This is by far my favorite Thor story. Even after having read more Thor stories recently, I still think this is one of the best Thor stories that I've read in my life. So anyway, I like this book quite a bit. I think you guys should check it out. So those are my thoughts on Thor, Loki, Blood Brothers. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with a different video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.